Excellent! Say what again?
Christmas specials. Everyone knows them, everyone's seen them. Rudolph, Frosty, A Christmas Story, Home Alone. So many of these get played every year. They've become so cemented in pop culture that it's hard to think of a Christmas season without seeing The Grinch, Buddy the Elf, or Charlie Brown. Now these are all famous examples, but with new Christmas movies coming out every year, there are bound to be some that people have forgotten about.
Santa and friends battle bizarre monsters to save Christmas.
Good shall overcome evil.
The life and adventures of Santa Claus.
For this episode of Joe's Drive-In, I wanted to take a look at two Christmas specials that you've probably never heard of. A Wish for Wings That Work is a bizarre Christmas special from 1991 centering around Opus the Penguin. Who's Opus the Penguin? Well, Opus is a character created by cartoonist Berkeley Breathed for his comic strip that I know for sure that you've never heard of, called Bloom County. Bloom County ran throughout the 1980s and was known for its sophisticated humor and commentary on the culture of the time. To keep things brief, I won't be doing a deep dive here, but it is worth noting that Breathed also created several other works, such as other comic strips and children's books using his cast of characters. One of those books was adapted into this animated special. Opus the Penguin dreams of flight, but of course doesn't possess that ability as a flightless bird. He wants nothing more than to fly, believing his wings to be useless. So he writes to Santa for, as the title says, a wish for wings that work.
Please, sir, I have only one request this Christmas. One passion, one wish. Some penguin wings that work.
Most of the short is about Opus telling his story of how he struggles with this, even going to a support group with other flightless birds.
Just be glad your wife didn't leave you for an albatross!
And eventually trying to find his own way to become airborne.
I became an aeronautic vigilante.
On Christmas Eve, Santa's sleigh crashes nearby in the middle of a lake and he needs help. Since the water is freezing cold, nobody can get to him. Using his natural penguin abilities to swim quickly through ice water, Opus is able to rescue Santa Claus, learning the value of being a penguin and the lesson that his wings work just fine, but for a unique special purpose.
I see no penguins here whose wings merely sputter. Tonight it was courage that flew yours beyond others.
Impressed by his bravery, a group of local ducks give Opus his wish by taking him for a flight. When summarized, the plot sounds pretty sweet and straightforward, but I find that the special really falls flat when you're actually watching it. It's a very surreal special to sit through. Opus is joined by several other characters from Bloom County and Outland, Breathe's other comic at the time, with the most well-known being Bill the Cat, a disgusting alley cat whose only real trait is being unappealing. These other characters end up being a weak point for the special, as none of them are effectively introduced and some of them aren't even named on screen. This really narrows down the amount of people that can enjoy this, as it relies completely on you being well versed in the cast of the Bloom County universe. You don't really get enough time to know or understand the characters either. I know it's only a 30-minute special, but things like this can really affect the appeal. For example, there's this pig character that thinks he's a rhinoceros.
You're a pig.
Rhinoceros!
Pig.
Rhinoceros!
Pig.
Which in concept should be funny, but I have no idea who this guy is, so I don't really care.
How about that water buffalo?
This also makes the special very dated, as the comic strips haven't been relevant in at least 30 years by now. The entire special just has me wondering, who exactly was this for?
Excuse me, is this cockroach cross-dressers in crisis?
On one hand, it's presented in a whimsical and colorful way, which would make you think it's a special for children. But on the other hand, the writing is very sophisticated with a wide vocabulary, which is very in tune with the source material.
For which I do not blame my mother. I prefer to blame Congress.
Since a lot of the appeal relies on you knowing the comic characters anyway, you'd think it would be aimed at adults. These factors combined make for a very strange experience. I actually grew up watching this with my parents and I remember liking it, but looking back I can't help but wonder, what the hell was I watching?
What? We don't keep the macadamia nuts up here!
There's this weird dream sequence that puts Opus in an old movie called Lost Horizon from 1937.
If anyone knows where the starboard ailer tutor is on a DC-3, would you please press your call button now?
What kid is gonna get that? I barely get it now.
It's a penguin.
A Wish for Wings That Work makes me question if it would have even been popular when it came out. Were Bloom County and its related works really that big at the time? Well, it would seem that the answer is no, as the special would go on to get poor ratings upon airing. It would also be condemned by Breathed himself, and none of his works would ever again enter the world of animation. To its credit, A Wish for Wings That Work does have appealing, well-done animation that is perfectly in tune with the source material, but with its extremely highbrow writing and reliance on knowing these comic strip characters, it ended up flying too close to the sun and falling down into a pit of obscurity. The special has been released on VHS and had a DVD release later in 2007, but beyond that has been mostly lost to time. Overall, it's an odd special that honestly might be best left forgotten.
Excuse me, but I simply must fly.
Our next special takes us across the pond to the United Kingdom. This is The Snowman from 1982.
It was a magical day, and it was on that day I made the snowman.
In contrast to the edgy and grungy feel of A Wish for Wings That Work, this is one of the most beautiful shorts you will ever see. Based on a 1978 picture book of the same name, The Snowman tells the story of a young boy that builds, well, a snowman. And as they typically do, the snowman comes to life and takes the boy on an adventure. The boy shows the snowman around his home and they form a quick friendship. In return for the hospitality, the snowman whisks the boy away on a magical flight. They fly across the world, all set to an incredibly beautiful soundtrack.
We're swimming in the frozen sky.
The animation is so pretty, it's mesmerizing, dreamlike. Eventually, they arrive at their destination, a lively snowman Christmas party featuring other snow people from all over the world. Even Santa's there too. Man, I want to go to a snowball. When the party is over and they've had their fun, the boy and the snowman return home for a good night's sleep. Morning comes and the boy rushes out of his bed. He simply must see his new friend. He rushes out the door. There are more adventures to be had. But alas, the snowman is no more, melted by the morning sun. The boy, who was so excited to greet his friend, is only met with loss. The Snowman made quite an impression when it was released, even being nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short. It seems to be mostly forgotten in most areas, but is still fairly popular in Britain with a strong following, even gaining a sequel in 2012. I have a personal tie with it as well. When I was a little kid, I actually had a plush of the Snowman himself, and believe me when I tell you that it was the softest plush you'll ever see. The Snowman is a short that can only be described as beautiful. Everything about it, the music, the animation, the sadness of the ending, it's all fantastic. The art style is this gorgeous mix of colored pencils and pastels. There isn't even any talking in the entire thing except for a short line in the intro.
I remember that winter because it brought the heaviest snow that I had ever seen.
This is an experience. This is a movie about feelings. It takes you back to that nostalgic feeling of being a child, waking up to a yard full of untouched white snow, a landscape transformed overnight. It's that feeling of having a day with nothing to worry about. This is a film that smells like cookies and feels like a crisp winter morning, bringing you back to the days of coming inside to a warm blanket or a burning fireplace. It feels like that one Campbell's soup commercial. You know the one, and I mean that in the best way.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's soup. Let it snow, let it snow.
The Snowman is simply a perfect winter short. It needs more love and is one of the most beautiful, adorable, and heartwarming shorts you'll ever see. Its end may be bittersweet, but the time you spend with it is magical. Thank you very much for watching my look back at some forgotten Christmas specials. I hope you liked it, and I hope you've enjoyed everything else I've put out this year as well. The channel has had some substantial growth throughout 2024, and I'm not looking at stopping anytime soon. I look forward to creating more in 2025 and sharing more movies with you. From Joe's Drive-In to all of you out there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year.